you, sir.
Good evening. I had to pound that hard. I don't know. Everybody in the room.
Wow.
Good evening. Welcome to a regular meeting of the City Council of the City of Palos Verdes Estates. Today is February 24th, 2026. The time is 6:32 p.m. Big full room. Thank you everyone for attending and welcome on a fun night. May we please join together and stand in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. On to approval of, on a roll call. I think we're all here. Go ahead.
Councilmember McGowan.
Here.
Councilmember Quinn is absent. Councilmember Lozey.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Lazaro.
Here.
And Mayor Kemps.
I'm here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you very much. On to approval of the agenda. Do any council members wish to make any changes or order of the agenda?
Move to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
Moved Councilmember Lozey, second Mayor Pro Tem Lazaro. All in favor?
Aye.
All not? Very good. So approved. Mayor's report matters of community interest. I'm going to skip this one tonight due to the high level of interest in this meeting and move to the city manager and chief's reports.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. Good evening, all of you in attendance. I just had two items. I'm going to turn it over to the Chief of Police. He's going to steal the show here for the next 20 minutes or so. An announcement, reminder to the community that the structural repair project on Palos Verdes Drive West, right near Bluff Cove, is starting next week. There's the project area. This is to sort of resupport and rebuild a retaining wall that's essentially holding up Palos Verdes Drive West. There's been years of studies to get to this point. Construction will start next week. We don't anticipate any road closures during this. There will be, towards the end, a sidewalk closure, and we will be noticing that. But the trail in the area in the square that you see on your screen will be closed. That will be sort of the laydown area and where they're doing their work from. So just an announcement on that. There's more detailed information on our website if that is something you're interested in. The only other item I have is I wanted to thank the staff and specifically our Deputy City Manager, George Gabriel. We talk a lot about succession planning, and that nasty flu that's flying around took me out 2 weeks ago. So George got to do succession planning with about 12 hours notice. So I said, I'm not going to make the council meeting. Good luck. And he kept texting me questions, and I couldn't. I'm like, you got it. That's about all I could put out. So great job, George, and the staff that supported him, and thank you to the councul for your patience.
I kept trying to throw him for a loop, but it didn't work.
Yeah. He's ready. So, anyways, I'm all better now. I'm going to turn this over to our Chief of Police to talk a little bit about an incident over the weekend, and then I think that'll roll right into one of the main events for tonight. So, Chief Hellinga, it is going to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. City Manager. Thank you, Mayor Kemps and City Council members, and welcome. This is definitely a packed house, and we're happy to see everyone out here. So what I want to discuss tonight was a very serious incident that happened in a neighboring city on Sunday morning. So if you're not aware, on Sunday morning there was an incident in Rolling Hills Estates in which a Los Angeles County deputy was shot at. His police car was hit, and we had a significant response. The sheriff's department had a significant response, and we also went up to help. So I wanted to share a little bit about what it was like from my standpoint, some takeaways that we learned, and also what our department did. So I will say that Sunday morning, I was actually at my son's baseball game, and I received a kind of early notification that something was going on in Rolling Hills Estates, and I was aware that it involved a vehicle being shot. And, I started checking in with my staff and making sure they were aware of something that was happening in Rolling Hills Estates for their safety, while we were kind of waiting to hear more from the Sheriff's Department as they were rapidly investigating this and sending lots of deputies to that area. So around 10 o'clock in the morning, we learned that it was, in fact, a deputy's patrol car that had been shot. And the Sheriff's Department had mutual aid coming from Torrance. They had mutual aid coming, not mutual aid, they had more deputies from different stations within the Sheriff's Department responding. And we also sent one of our officers to that scene. So as they're investigating this and things are unfolding, we realize this is going to take a very long time to do this search that the Sheriff's Department were rolling out. So in addition to the one officer that we sent there, we called another officer. It was actually Officer Zabukovec. We called him from home, and he decided that he would come in to help cover the city of Palos Verdes Estates in case something were to happen here. Another officer who's also here, Officer Fred Hatch, heard about it while he was off duty, and he responded to Rolling Hills Estates so he could also assist the Sheriff's Department in their search for the suspect. As all of this is evolving, we always like to I keep my boss informed, Kerry Coleman, and he also has a responsibility of relaying information to the council. Part of the takeaways that we learn and we keep learning is that not all of the immediate information we receive is accurate. In fact, there was, if anyone's familiar with the app called Citizens app, it reports some kind of information very quickly. And that did have a report on there, but it did not say that it was a deputy's patrol car that had been hit. So part of the takeaway for us was, to try to verify information. We always want to give the public information. This was not our incident to share the information, but we, as a police department, want to keep the public informed as much as we possibly can. But part of that process is so much slower than Citizens app. It's so much slower than Nextdoor. It's so much slower than Instagram, because we take the time to verify the information, and we make sure we're providing accurate information to my boss, relaying to the city council. And we also have to recognize the boots on the ground. The men and women that are on the ground gathering this information, they have a whole different set of priorities to run through. And their main priority is safety. They need to keep themselves safe. They need to keep the citizens safe. So while we're asking questions, we might want to know what's happening so that we can try to get them more resources. We want to acknowledge that they are the ones that are dealing with this incident, directly, and we want to give them space to be safe and then wait for the information to come to us. So that was Sunday. Monday morning, one of my first things that I did was I reached out to the Alameda Station Captain, Captain Guerrero, just to check on her and their staff to see if there's anything we could help them with. And we also had an idea of possibly changing our deployments, meaning should we have extra officers in Palos Verdes Estates because the suspect is still at large. So as I'm discussing that internally with my staff, we received a call from the neighborhood church on Paseo del Mar, and what had come in, somebody called and said, there's somebody here trying to get into the church, and they said they're going to shoot everybody inside. So that's the information that we immediately received. My mind went to, I wonder if this is the same gunman that was up in Rolling Hills Estates. So we start responding to that. I was in the station. We had officers on their way to that call. I go to my vehicle, and I'm getting my vest on and preparing to respond myself, along with one of our captains, Captain Belda. We had a detective on the way, and of course, our patrol officers were immediately responding. It's amazing to me that we had a response time in less than a minute. And let that sink in for a little bit. Less than a minute, you guys. Like that. And I'm very proud of our patrol officers who were there. Thankfully, that information that we received was not exactly accurate. So our officers arrived quickly, they detained the suspect, and they learned that the suspect had threatened to spray security guards. The security guards interpreted that as spraying with bullets. What the suspect meant was I was going to spray them with the pepper spray that she had. So we searched her car. There was no gun. She did, in fact, have pepper spray. And it was a misunderstanding. But again, it goes back to kind of these takeaways that we're learning of not all the information we receive is going to be accurate. And we need to get on scene. We need to assess. Since our officers responded so quickly and they were able to put out what we call a code 4, meaning everything's okay, I ended up not responding to that scene because they were already there. They told me it was under control, and I waited patiently to figure out, like, what happened to you guys? So it was a very intense time for us. As they were still on scene there, we got a call of smoke scene. So I will say that 99% of the time, a call regarding smoke scene is either clouds, fog, chimney smoke, anything but a real fire. So I heard the call go out, and I figured it was going to be anything but a real fire. Of course, we still send officers. We still dispatch the fire department. And I was on my way to lunch at that point, talking to Carrie about the first incident, when the first officer arrived on scene to the smoke call and confirmed that there was a house on fire. So I immediately turned my lights and sirens on, and I start making a U-turn, and I'm talking to Carrie. I'm listening to the radio, and Carrie eventually realized that this conversation is pointless. She probably couldn't hear anything I was trying to say to you. And he allowed me the space to prioritize and execute the things that I needed to take care of. So we were able to arrive on scene. The fire department got there extremely quickly, and thankfully the residents were not home. Everybody was safe. There was no injuries. And then we started the process of notifying. I notified Carrie, who notified the council. I was also in direct communication with Devin Serrano, the superintendent of the Palos Verdes School District, because the elementary school is 2 blocks away from that location. So I was relaying information to her, letting her know that the school's safe. There's no threat to the school, and then also talked about traffic impacts. So in a very short amount of time, we had a good number of incidents. Even the last couple of weeks, we had some other incidents that were relatively serious, chasing bad guys, catching bad guys, relaying information. But I think a lot of the takeaways for us is that while we are relentlessly chasing bad guys and trying to catch bad guys, we give enough space to allow the incidents to unfold, make sure our officers are safe, and then try to relay accurate information to the public. I think that concludes the 30 hours that we went through.
Thank you, Chief. Really appreciate you sharing that. I'm going to put you on the spot. And can you remind residents that when there are a vehicle with police lights and sirens, what you're supposed to do if you're driving your car?
Yes. So if there's lights and sirens, please pull over to the right and stop. Give us some space. Not everybody decides to do that.
So I witnessed that in this fire incident. I was following the chief up, and somebody decided to pass us. And let's just say they got a talking to from the chief. All right. Thank you.
Back to you, Mr. Mayor.
We'd like to see the body cam photo of that one right now. All right. City manager, all good?
Oh, good.
All right. On to ceremonial presentation of a life-saving award for Officer John Zabukovec and Nurse Rachel Ebright.
Thank you. I'd like. This is on? Yes. I'd like to invite Rachel Ebright and Officer Zabukovec up, along with Mr. James. If you guys stand right here. Okay, it's definitely an honor to stand here. This is one of the favorite things that I get to do as a chief, is to recognize people for the actions that they've taken, especially these life-saving actions. But I want to open this with recognizing that there are families that don't get to attend these types of ceremonies because their loved ones did not make it. So most of the police officers in this room, I believe, have responded to fatal traffic collisions, and they are devastating to the families. So the outcome that we had on October 30th was miraculous, but I did want to take a moment of silence to acknowledge the families of victims who were not so fortunate. Thank you very much. On October 30th, at about 9 o'clock in the morning, Rachel Ebright was driving on Paseo del Mar with her young kids. She noticed what appeared to be a man lying in the roadway behind a parked car. So she stopped to see what was happening and to see if she could help. As she exited her car, she noticed the back window of the parked car was completely shattered, and there's glass all over the ground. The man on the roadway, who's standing here today, Alan James, was bleeding heavily. He was disoriented, and he was unable to focus. Rachel's training and experience as a registered nurse immediately kicked in, and she started rendering aid as another bystander called 911. She quickly observed that any movement that Mr. James would make was causing the bleeding to intensify. She recognized that this continued blood loss would soon become unsurvivable. So she mobilized him and provided reassurance while waiting for first responders. Her actions, your actions, in stabilizing Mr. James were critical in slowing the bleeding and preserving his life. Officer John Zabukovec was on duty and responded to a radio call about a traffic collision. He arrived at the scene within about 2 minutes. Upon assessing the victim, he discovered that Mr. James had a severe laceration to his neck with active arterial bleeding, which is obviously an immediate life-threatening injury. Officer Zabukovec instantly recognized that without rapid and decisive intervention, the victim would not survive. Acting without hesitation, Officer Zabukovec, you provided focused, life-saving care. He stabilized Mr. James' neck and applied direct pressure to control the bleeding. Ms. Ebright continued to assist in preparing medical supplies, including gauze and a hemostatic dressing that Officer Zabukovec had in his first aid kit. Officer Zabukovec manually occluded the damaged artery using his finger to control the arterial flow of blood and maintained these life-saving actions for approximately 10 minutes until the paramedics arrived. I reached out to the Assistant Fire Chief, Brian Kane, later, and he confirmed that the actions were life-saving and directly responsible for preventing a fatal outcome. Officer Zabukovec's and Ms. Ebright's awareness, courage, and willingness to act decisively made the difference between life or death on that day. So it deserves applause. I don't like reading speeches, but I wanted to make sure I got everything in there. And I just want to say a few things on a personal note. Tonight is the first night that I've met Rachel. We've had some conversations, of course, before this. And what I learned about Rachel in those conversations is that she's humbled. This took her by surprise. She didn't expect anything like this. But one of the things that her and I discussed was the importance of ceremonies like this, not just to honor what you did and what you did, John, but it's also to encourage. As Rachel was there rendering aid, she noticed that people continually drove by, and that does happen, and walked by. I'm sorry. Yes. So this event is not just to honor the actions and to show the thankfulness of these two and be celebrating that Mr. James is here, but it's also to encourage other people to act when you see something. So thank you, Rachel. Z, this is Officer John Zabukovec. We call him Z. Officer Zabukovec is assigned to traffic, and if you know, you may have been pulled over by him. He hands out quite a few tickets, but as I've gotten to know Officer Zabukovec over the last 4 years, maybe a little bit more, you instantly notice that he's not just writing tickets because he wants a certain number or he's upset that you were speeding. Officer Zabukovec is out there trying to save lives, and he is a very, what I call rescue-oriented police officer. Police officers, we are here to enforce the law, and we're here to be not just warriors. Sometimes there's times to be a warrior as a police officer, but we are guardians. And Officer Zabukovec is an outstanding example of somebody who is a guardian. He is out there writing tickets. He is out there enforcing the law. But when he comes across an incident like this, he is amongst the first to get first aid going and save lives. So I'm so happy that you're with our police department, Officer Zabukovec. Thank you very much, and congratulations. So at this time, I'm going to invite the council down to present the mayor's proclamations.
Quote of the night, glad you're still alive. Good to see you. Been so long.
Oh, well, that's when we all run into it.
Along with a very difficult whole Palos Verdes Estates. You probably have enough of those to go around. One more over here, everybody.
1, 2.
Thanks for coming. And being willing to be recognized as well. No, thanks. That was that was certainly a moment to remember and hang on to for sure. Thank you all for joining us in that. On to communications from the public. We have a lot of cards for one item, but for this one, presently I only have one. If I've missed anybody, let me know. Valerie Gorsuch, please. Oh, I should note this portion of the agenda. Go ahead and come up. This portion of the agenda is reserved for comments from the public on items which are not on the agenda. Due to state law, no action can be taken by the council this evening on matters presented under this section. And if the council determines action is warranted, the item may be referred to staff or placed on a future council agenda. Go ahead.
I'm just so overwhelmed, so I just love being here, and thank you for all what you did. Now, why I'm really here to say, Honorable Mayor, City Council, City staff, and residents, I'm Valerie Gorsuch. I'm Palos Verdes Estates Neighborhood Watch President and the Area Coordinator for Malaga Cove. And now is the time to get to know your neighbors through PVE PD. We are starting to sign up for street meets, and the sun doesn't even go down until about 6 p.m. What is a street meet? It's an informal gathering of local neighbors to get to know each other and to hear what is going on in their neighborhood from the local police officers. They're short meetings, they last about an hour, and you have an opportunity to get to know your questions answered about crime and prevention in your neighborhood. To sign up for a street meet, just go on to our website at pvenw.org, and that's how you sign up. And you know, being a part of the Neighborhood Watch team is a great way to serve your neighbors and be connected to what is going on. We have a number of opportunities for you to share just minimal of your personal time and your very special talents. If you're interested, I won't give you our email address. Go to our pvenw.org, you'll find our address. And just last weekend, I received my Neighborhood Watch mail out, and it did remind me that it was time to renew my membership. And we do thank all of you who already have. You've been getting your renewals and your updates, and for some people, even joining for the first time. We encourage you to talk with your neighbors, make sure that they too are members of PVE Neighborhood Watch, and let them know. They'll find out about upcoming events and all that. So renew your mail or online at pvenw.org. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for that, Valerie.
Better.
Do we have any other comments from the public on items not on the agenda? Come on up. No rush, you're good.
Thank you, and I appreciate you giving me a moment.
No problem.
An amazing story that just happened on the drive, right? That's unbelievable. What I would like to do is give you feedback about our wildlife and how our wonderful nests managed in the 50-mile-an-hour winds. I don't know if anyone was thinking of them. Their nest is the size of a tire, and it's too hopeful to believe they have already a little eaglet, but I saw a head that I was filming today from the back. So it was amazing, and I tried to have a plan with the fire department and the police department that if the nest fell, what we could do. But it really presented an obvious fact that we need a wildlife management type of program. And there are so many competent people. I happen to have been an assistant biologist on the California gnatcatcher study a long time ago in '92. But the the Conservancy, the recent Eagle Scout, I'd like to ask for more grace, please, for our trail and our lot here that looks like it's unkept, but really it's a haven for pollinators, and they're beginning. A week and a half ago, I had a big, fat, juicy caterpillar cross my way as I was going around the bend towards the redwood trees there, and I filmed it. I want to share it with you. So fantastic to see it. It literally came across that far in under a minute and a half. It was impressive. But nature is doing its thing when it's left alone and when it's not poisoned by herbicide, to which we now have an approved project areas that may be around your own neighborhoods. And I'd like to just bring some feedback to you, especially Councilmember Lazaro. You had said in a Monday meeting following January 14th that residents really didn't know about it, or you'd see more people here at the meeting to talk about it, to let you know how uncomfortable they are, how really that's not safety for our residents. So tonight, with what's following, is focused on safety, but on a very basic level, our environment is being poisoned. On this side of the drive, on that side of the drive, I am going to go to every neighbor and ask them, do they know this is happening right there? So, and I spend a lot of time on the trail talking to people. Without any variance, everyone is a no on herbicides.
Time's up.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Before I go on, any other communications from the public that are not related to agenda item 6?
Mr. Mayor, I'll just say for the record and for the audience, we've actually recently reduced herbicide usage by 90% in the city. We issued a directive doing that. So I understand the concerns, but we are very much headed in the right direction.
Thanks for that. On to the consent agenda items 1 through 4, which are approval of warrants, city council meeting actions, planning commission actions, and adoption of a resolution accepting emergency storm drain repair and erosion control work at 4425 Lucera Circle, and the city bounty trail as complete, thereby terminating the emergency action and authorizing the city clerk to record the notice of completion. Do I have any council members wishing to pull any of those consent agenda items? Hearing none, is there any public comment on any of those 4 items? None seen or heard or received. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move that we approve all 4 of them in the consent agenda.
May I have a second?
I'll second.
So moved by Councilmember McGowan, second Mayor Pro Tem Lazaro. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? None. Thank you very much. On to old business, item 5, Palos Verdes Golf Club Centennial Project, clubhouse renovations and additions. I think we may have a recusal or comments.
No comments. So I will recuse and go to the comfort of the back conference room to watch this presentation all by myself. And I am recusing because I am a member of the club.
Thank you for that. We'll miss you. Hope you enjoy the presentation. No, we didn't leave that for you.
But you might have time to run over.
Good question, though. Okay.
Bring some back.
May we please have a staff report on item 5?
Yeah, I'm gonna start it, and then I'll turn it over to Mr. Stocky. This item is under old business. Interestingly, it's a continuation of an item that's been before this council, Planning Commission, Parklands, everything else we do to drive Mr. Stocky crazy. This is the kickoff to the golf course's Centennial project. If you're not aware, and you might be wondering, why is this before the city council? The golf course, the grounds and the facilities and all of that are owned by the city. We have a contract or a licensing or a concession agreement with an organization that runs the day-to-day operations of the golf course. Following the 100th year anniversary, they're doing a major renovation, which was approved in various stages 2 years ago. I think it was almost 2 years ago. And then we're at the point where construction is very, very close to kicking off. When it was approved 2 years ago, the council asked that the representatives of the golf course come back, make a presentation, which you'll be giving tonight, report on the status of the project, and really the costs and the construction bids and that nature. So that's what's before you tonight. I will turn it over to the general manager of the golf course, David Stocky, and let him go from there.
Thank you, Kerry. Good evening, Honorable Mayor, council members, and PVE staff. Thank you for taking the time to have us come and present today. I think Kerry did a really nice recap of where we're at. We did come before the council May 14th, 2024, and again on May 28th, 2024, to discuss what we would consider a groundbreaking, major milestone, and incredible project for the city. The members are going to fully fund a $20 million project, and we're at phase 2 now. About a year ago, we completed phase 1 of that project, which was $2.5 million that was going to be initially allocated to do the driving range and short game projects, which turned out fantastic. We were about a month under our timeline, and we completed it $200,000 under budget, which has left us $17.7 million to finish the $20 million clubhouse renovation and Centennial project in its entirety. So we're very excited to share tonight that after many years of diligent work, since 2021, working with our architects, Lincoln Property Company, our project manager, and multiple GCs, subcontractors, that we've landed on our number, actually just under it. We're at a total of $17,644,000. So comfortably under the 17.7 that's left. Additionally, we still remain with a $1.245 million contingency, which is the equivalent close to 10% that remains. For projects of this size and of this nature, when you're talking about new construction primarily, you typically would carry maybe 7% in contingency. So we feel in our incredible team of Centennial Subcommittee, board, and all those that have been involved feel like that we have a sizable contingency to handle what we need to do to complete this project and have it become the magical building that everybody hopes and prays that it will turn out to be. We do have some updated renderings, but which we think are reminiscent of our 100-year-old building. We do have a historical look to it, and we worked closely with the art jury on multiple occasions to finally get approval from them for the look and feel and the way that it'll be constructed. So I think the background on this, you guys have kind of gotten quite a bit, so I think we can just roll through the slides, and if there's any questions that the council has of me, but we'll start rolling through here. So back in 2021, when we created this vision, the Centennial Project, it was a group of members, 15 members to be exact, and then we went through the process that you guys have heard about, and then it went to vote once we got to a point where we had a project that we felt like we could deliver upon and construct, and the members did vote on this project, and they voted it through with a 62% approval rating. We had a record 534 members that voted, and only 38% of those were a no. Now, a lot of the no's were it's not big enough, and it was, as you can imagine, quite a few of those were it's too big. In our opinion, we are delivering on the needs and match up to the concession agreement requirements that basically say we have to continually improve the asset. This is a city-owned asset, and we must improve not just fitness, but the men's locker room. These are things that are directly in the concession agreement. And in addition to that, continuously attract and maintain our membership. And we've done so. We currently have a waiting list of 74 currently. The initiation fee has risen over the last 3 years, kind of in preparation of this project. It's obviously very exciting when you're talking about new prospective members that are coming to look at joining the club. And of course, the residents of Palos Verdes Estates are those primary members that are joining. Currently, we have 76% of our membership that are Palos Verdes Estates residents. They always have the first right of refusal to come in and go in front of any non-residents. And we're sitting at 24% of our total membership, which is capped out at 600 as non-residents. So everybody's excited about this project. We have obviously kind of jumped through a lot of hoops to get to this point. And we're, as Carrie mentioned, we're nearing breaking ground. We are still in conversations right now with the city, very close on building and safety permits, as well as grading and drainage permits. We are doing considerable improvements above and beyond what we had originally planned for, and we're still under our budget. And then we only had one removal from what we originally planned, which was our porte cochere needed to come out. In our current historic building that's 100 years old, that porte cochere that we potentially were going to build and that we looked into was going to need to be at a height roughly of 14 feet. The art jury definitely did not like that. They didn't think that would be a good look. We tend to agree, but initially we were trying really hard to make sure that that would happen. And everyone kind of aligned on this one, is that fire department needs to have access. There's a lot of big rigs and trucks and fire trucks that come through there. And if you've been to the club, which I'm sure most of you have, it really wouldn't work out unless that height was the 14 feet that the fire department, the trucks need. So we've removed that, but we've added other things. And as you can see on this overall budget update, it shows where we're at on soft costs. We have about $25,000 remaining. So if we included that in our total project, we'd actually be closer to 10% on the hard cost contingency. And as you work through the numbers, hard costs are sitting currently at $13,101,000. We know that's come down another $8,000 in the last few days as we're working closely with the GC that we're selecting, which is going to be Howard CDM. It was a competitive bid market. We started off with 4 GCs that were bidding on this, and 2 of them kind of made it all the way to the finish line and gave us numbers. And Howard CDM was a company that we were very comfortable with. They just had done our $2 million kitchen renovation about a year ago, and that project finished on time and under budget as well. So very happy with them, very excited to be working with them. And Lincoln Property Company, Sam Pepper is here tonight. He's also our project manager lead, who has been in communication with everybody at the city, the Palos Verdes, our jury, Millette, and Kerry Coleman, and the rest of them. And he's done an incredible job with us, and he's going to continue to stay on this project. So that rounds out our total. When you're looking at hard costs, it comes to $13,101,000 on the hard costs, plus the GC somewhat controlled 3% that they maintain, another 6.5% held by the club. That brings it to the total of 9.5% and the $1,245,000. So we are very excited to show that not only have we met all of our requirements and needs, that we've added a few additions. We've had very minimal removals. The value engineering hasn't had any impact on the total project and how the scope's going to turn out. Some of the ads are up on the screen, but a couple of the more important ones I would just say is significant ADA improvements that weren't originally planned for, of course. And in addition to that, we are doing an infrared sauna, kind of an upgraded sauna and steam room. And this is a project that includes knocking down a pro shop, a snack bar, and ultimately building a 2-story, 13,110 square foot building in its place to basically reprogram with the pro shop, the snack bar, bag storage, and the snack bar will be significantly better. The pro shop will be modernized, and it's going to have an incredible performance center inside it. So that, with the upstairs area being the locker room and lounge for the men, instead of being down in the dungeon where they've been for about 50 years with no windows, is going to be a huge upgrade and just a proud moment for the club and for the community, and certainly for all the guests that come and visit Palos Verdes Golf Club. And this is just a diagram of kind of all the moving parts and what we're doing inside the existing clubhouse. There will be a small renovation in our existing clubhouse down where the men's locker room exists now. That's a vantage point of the new upstairs men's lounge with locker rooms. The lounge will have a balcony that wraps around, overlooks the 9th and 18th greens. And we will have an elevator that's built into this, which is going to be very nice, again, as an ADA improvement. And this is showing the existing main clubhouse, and down below there'll be a fitness expansion that are going to have gorgeous ocean views overlooking the golf course, and then we're going to reprogram to offer additional storage, 4 additional bathrooms, and the storage in addition to areas for our staff that desperately needs offices, and then we're going to have an additional meeting room that we all need. I know the city council comes and uses it, so does Carrie at times with the police, and Chief of Police Luke Hellinga has been out. We need this space to be repurposed, so that'll be kind of our phase 2 after the new construction is completed. And then quick renderings. What you're looking at there is the transformation. So there was a 1983 building that just didn't kind of fit the part or fit the mold for Palos Verdes Estates. This is the new look that has that 100-year-old vibe, and the stucco is going to be beautiful, hand troweled, and you have beautiful eaves. You know, you have all the details that you would want in that Spanish Mediterranean throwback. High quality construction is just going to be absolutely gorgeous. The snack bar underneath will have an incredible area for you to dine and hang out, and will connect to our existing outdoor tree patio area that everybody knows and loves. It's going to be doubled in size. And then this is a new grand staircase going down, an expanded deck that is going to be near that new fitness area where we'll have some fire pits, and we can, have events and gathering, and people can also hang out down there and potentially dine as well. And this is a vantage point looking back from the 9th green, looking at the clubhouse in its new full glory. The arches are gorgeous. The windows and all the decorative pieces and the aesthetics, I think, are going to be very impressive when it's all said and done, and people are going to be really proud, especially if we host another LPGA event. This would be the vantage point that the LPGA would be focused on, because our 9th becomes our 18th green for that tournament. And then this is a new kind of moment of arrival, kind of a upgraded, enhanced pergola. As you walk in, you'll have a new badged Palos Verdes Golf Club signage, and then you'll come through and have a little bit of protection from some of the elements and some shade. I think there was concern before about the magnolia trees being removed. We actually have 8 magnolia trees there. We don't intend to remove any of them. We did get approval for Parklands to potentially remove the first 2 in case the ADA requirements force that upon us. But at the end of the day, we'll still have 6 beautiful magnolias and a great new entrance that leads to that gorgeous staircase going down. And that is the end of my slide. I hope I didn't take too much of your time, and that was an impressive presentation. Chief Hellinga, that was really cool, and John's an incredible guy, so is your new, I guess, friend, and the person that's going to honor this city forever that saved his life. Thank you so much. That was beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank
Any
you very much
questions?
for the presentation. Yeah, any council questions?
I didn't hear what he said.
Do you have any questions?
Oh, no.
We already asked a million of them. So let me go there. I'm going to briefly embarrass you. All members and board members and collaborators with and of Palos Verdes Golf Club that have contributed to and supported collaboration with Councilmember McGowan and I and this project over the last 4 years, please stand.
There's a lot of them out there.
Thank you for your time, your volunteer efforts, all the collaboration, the questions that both the members and the liaisons and the council have put you through, all of the work that you have done on behalf of our community. We are tremendously grateful, and those renderings are incredibly exciting. Let me finally say, David Stocky, you have done a wonderful job shepherding this through, and we're grateful for your collaboration as well, and I've embarrassed you enough.
Let me just add as the other liaison, the cooperation with all the members that were just standing have been unbelievable. And I appreciate, we've had debates back and forth on various issues and topics over the years, but it's all come to fruition, and I'm super proud of the product that you guys are going to give to our city. And thank you again for all the working positive relationships that we've developed.
Thank you very much. You guys are awesome. Appreciate it.
Yeah, there's one other interesting piece to add. Sorry to interrupt the clapping. There's one other interesting piece to add. Technically, this didn't have to come to us because by a miracle of whoever you pick, it's on budget.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah,
That's
no,
awesome.
A great job to the team, and we've had 4 presidents involved in this incredible committee that's been formed at Palos Verdes Golf Club, and just a lot of really strong minds and people that have been behind this all the way, but also have the expertise in the field and building and construction. So we have an incredible team, and I couldn't be more honored and proud to be here presenting tonight. So thank you.
But before I let this go and before I let you sit down, is there any public comment or any questions? Come on up. Blake Gilman. This is on this item, right?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
So I thought it was important to note that as we're about to discuss this new tax, the history of the golf club originally was 2 separate concessions. You had the golf club, which was the country club, clubhouse, and then you had the actual golf course itself. And in the 1950s, the current golf club structure came into being, and obviously they've done a phenomenal job through the years. I think this rendering is absolutely beautiful, and I think it really does a nice job of getting rid of that eyesore pro shop from the 80s that I remember going to as a kid. But I'll say that as we're on the verge of voting on this new tax, if for some reason the tax fails, I think we need to go back to what the original deed restrictions say. The 1940 Parklands deed says that the privileges of the Palos Verdes Country Club and its buildings and appurtenances shall always be available to the property owners of Palos Verdes Estates on at least as favorable terms as are granted to the most favored members and or patrons of said country club. So I think what's going on with this renovation, it's more than just a renovation, it's an expansion, is we're expanding access, we're expanding the footprint of our public space and giving it to the members, which is fine, but they need to pay for it. And if we're not getting enough money from the concession agreement and this tax fails, they need to pay a larger share. That's my opinion on this. That or the residents, the PVHA members, deserve to have increased access rights to the facilities in keeping with the original language of the 1940 grant deed. In closing, I'll say that the bylaws state that the golf course is not allowed to be used as a private club. Those words are in the actual concession agreement. Why do you think that's in there? Because this is a community asset, this belongs to the public, and let's make sure that it serves the public's interest. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment on this item? Nope. Sure. Thanks.
She has to be out, okay. First, I'd just like to thank our neighbor who's bringing attention to some very important elements of what we pay our taxes for. Thank you. It also begs the lens of transparency. I'm sitting next to another neighbor over here that I do not know, and I ask, how's this being paid for? I live right next door. I'm reasonably engaged. I'm unaware. When I hear it's part of this tax or concession or in any other way, you can mock and smile. I like to live my life.
Ma'am, we are not, and we would never mock you.
Great. Well, you are.
I'm not.
But I have 2 children graduating from college in the next month and a half, and I don't want unnecessary taxes. I still have another one. So I want to thank you for what he's done. Is that my time still? It's wrong. It's wrong for residents to pay a portion of a tax that they have no knowledge they have access to. There's no invitation to us, but yet it's there. I wish our city council would tell us more about these options so we could really enjoy our city, really enjoy the Olmsted design, which, by the way, I'll be going to Boston and seeing Olmsted Park and the work he did in the late 1800s to settle Boston's wetlands. There is genius in the design. I'd just like to implore the city council. We've already had the situation where a project at street expansion was going with skates on. There are 3 sitting incumbent members to that here, and there was no transparency. This is more of the same, and it stinks. It stinks, and it's wrong. And the portion that the herbicidal spraying went down to is our main trail, So, not a good move.
Thank you for your comment. Just for clarification, Mr. Stockey, could I have you come up again?
Yeah, I believe I started with, if it's okay for me to speak, I think I started
Absolutely, it's
with
okay with you to speak. Actually,
the members of the club are paying 100% for this. The city's not paying a dime. The members are funding it out of their own money, and they're doing that out of the goodness of their heart to make this city asset much improved and more desirable. And the residents of the city, it's very clear on any Google search that they can come and dine, and they do have access. They can play golf and they can dine. Now, golf is offered after 2 p.m. because we do have a membership, and that membership is contributing $1.6 million to the bottom line for the city based on a 10% revenue stream that is given on all of our gross proceeds. It is massive. I've been in country club management for 21 years. I've never seen anything like it. Most clubs would be begging to break even. We actually make $1.6 million at Palos Verdes Golf Club, and it all goes to the city. and our members are backing this and paying for it in addition to taking care of the city with that contribution. So it's not just the members loving the club, they love the city of Palos Verdes Estates, and the residents benefit hugely from this. It will increase, more than likely, their value of their home, just like it has done for years and years. That will continue on. And so this is the opportunity to, again, appreciate one of the most important, biggest projects that this city has seen come its way in the last 30 years.
So again, just for clarity, it's not being funded by public funds.
It is not being.
It's all being done by the members.
The members are paying for every bit of this out of their own pocket.
And if I wanted to dine at the club or if I wanted to golf after 2 p.m., what would I do?
All you would do for dining is you could actually make a reservation as far in advance as you want, and you can roll in and come and enjoy the club and dine. We are open for dinner Wednesday through Saturday night. We added Saturday nights about a year ago. And we're also open for lunch Wednesday through Sunday, and we have breakfast on the weekends. So all city residents, feel free to come and enjoy this beautiful club and this beautiful asset that the city enjoys and owns.
So one more question just to cover the transparency issues. Do you remember, I actually don't know the number, so maybe you can remember this. Do you remember the number of public presentations that you've made on this project in this council chambers?
In this council chamber? At least 4, but I would say it's probably more like 6 because I've had to come in front of the council each and every year and go over our budget. The annual budget is approved by the council, operations and CIF. CIF is our capital improvement fund. So during those presentations, it would have been 22, 23, 24, and 25. So that's 4 presentations. In addition to the city council has heard the presentation on the Centennial project 2 times, and then initially in 2023. So that's 7.
Grateful. Thank you very much.
You got it.
Okay. I believe that's it on item 5. Could we please ask Ms. Lozzi to return?
I can go get her if you want. Go get her.
Is it a receive and file?
Yes.
Okay. I'll actually just make the comment that I'm not a member of the club, but I went there the other night and I had dinner with my wife and my small children. I have a 5-year-old and an 8-year-old who are actually in the back. You guys want to wave?
Good job.
Hi, guys. They were well behaved at the club.
And what did they do to deserve having to sit through this meeting?
Well, I like to show them democracy in action. This is democracy in action. We don't usually have an audience like this.
All right.
Yeah. They'll be. I don't know if they'll last the whole.
Good answer.
Oh.
All right. We good to go?
Yeah.
Need a pause to get to item 6?
Yeah, I'll vamp a little if you'd like. Our last agendized item of the night is, and I don't have the title in front of me, but I will vamp it. Here it is. Thank you. It's verification of sufficiency of signatures for initiative petition to enact a city special parcel tax to fund local law enforcement and public safety services. Getting settled next to me is Jim Priest. Jim is with our law firm of BBK. He works with our city attorney, Trevor. He is an election specialist. Jim has been working with our city and many others on these items. We have invited and asked Jim to present the staff report and walk the council through the necessary steps that we're at. So with that, I will turn it over to you, Jim. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Kalman. Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, honorable staff, members of the public, Jim Priest, pleasure to be with you this evening. Yes, this item concerns the citizen-initiated public safety parcel tax. Excuse me. Okay. Sorry? There we go. Why is this before you tonight? There was a citizens initiative petition that has qualified. Under the Elections Code, there is an initiative process where citizens can propose legislation to the city through a direct process where they circulate a petition, gather a sufficient number of signatures. If it does get that number of signatures, it comes before the City Council. We'll get into that a little bit more in a minute. And then the City Council has the option to put the measure on a ballot for voter consideration. The action tonight is procedural. As we'll get into in a little bit, the petition does have the required number of signatures. So the City Council, under the Elections Code, must put it on a ballot. Your choice this evening is which ballot you would put it on, either June 2nd or November 3rd. There is a third option we'll get into in a minute, but those are the principal options. This is not a discussion amongst the council about how to craft the parcel tax. That was written by the initiative proponents. That is the law that they are proposing. That is what is before the council this evening. Let's go back a little bit. We have Measure E, which currently exists. That was approved by the voters back in 2018 by a 69% margin. It currently imposes a $342 per parcel annual parcel tax, plus 20 cents per square foot of building improvements. Generates approximately $5.1 million annually. The funds under Measure E are restricted to law enforcement purposes only. That tax is scheduled to sunset a little over a year from now, June 30th, 2027. And as indicated, Measure E does fund a portion of the PVEPD budget, since that is consistent with law enforcement purposes. Just a little thumbnail of how the petition process worked. Back on September 9th, the initiative proponents filed what's called a notice of intent. That is the initial paperwork to kind of get the ball rolling. It includes the text of the proposed tax ordinance that they want to propose. After some preliminaries were done, they went out, circulated a petition to gather resident signatures to qualify the measure. On January 5th, they filed the petition with Ms. Cook's office, as is proper. We then referred it to the Los Angeles County Registrar of Voters. That is standard practice since they have the voter records. And they went ahead and verified the petition signatures, and they got 1,589 valid signatures. Only 1,087 are required. That's 10% of the registered voters of PVE, according to the Secretary of State. So they were about 500 votes over the requirement, so the measure has qualified for the ballot. Okay, there we go. So now that the petition has qualified, the council has to put this on a ballot ultimately. The question becomes which ballot to put it on. Little details here. What would the initiative do? It would amend Chapter 3.36 of the Municipal Code. That is your current Measure E that's on the books now. This would amend it. It would basically establish an additional 10-year public safety parcel tax. It would replace the existing Measure E parcel tax, and by extending it 10 years, it would extend the sunset to June 30th of 2037 instead of 2027 as it currently is now. The proposed structure under the initiative is a parcel tax at $990 per parcel per year, plus 67 cents per square foot of building improvements. And it also includes a CPI or 3% an automatic adjustment to account for inflation annually. How may the parcel tax money under this initiative be spent? It does broaden the purposes beyond what Measure E currently provides. Remember that Measure E is only for law enforcement purposes. This initiative tax could be spent either on PVEPD law enforcement, and I want to be clear that that initiative has a very clear qualifier in it, that it can be spent on city police department. If law enforcement is contracted out to the sheriff's department, the tax cannot be spent on sheriff services. It's only on PVEPD law enforcement. And then the other element of it is you can spend the funds on fire and emergency medical services, and those, I understand, are contracted out with the County Fire Protection District, but the measure would allow spending of these funds on that process or on that service. The measure requires an annual accountability report for a special tax. So each fiscal year, the report has to outline the revenue collected and expended, the status of services that are being funded by the tax, fund balances. The report has to be publicly posted, and it does have to qualify for has to be audited by an independent CPA. The initiative also establishes an accountability oversight committee. It's the finance advisory committee that would then serve this additional role, so they'd be wearing this additional hat under the measure. They would review the annual report. They would review the independent audit in a public meeting. They can issue written recommendations to the council about spending priorities, and then the findings of that committee would be published. And then ultimately, the council would take those recommendations and then ultimately make a decision on the spending of that money consistent with the law enforcement or fire emergency response purposes in the measure. So again, before the council this evening, the first element that's indicated in the staff report is basically just a receive and file. Just an acknowledgement that the petition did get the required number of signatures, so this matter is now at issue before the city council. We have a 3-pack of documents in the agenda packet this evening, standard 3-pack that we do for ballot measures. There's the main resolution that calls the election for June 2nd. That's the statewide primary coming up. That also includes the text of the actual tax ordinance that the initiative proponents proposed. There's a second one. The last two are really boilerplate. The second one requests consolidation with the June 2nd primary. That's just basically, will you add us to the big ballot that's going out June 2nd? And that's typically done to save on cost, because then all the public agencies that have something on June 2nd will be sharing the cost. That's in contrast to a standalone election that you might do on some odd date for some other measure where you would be paying the full freight for it. And then a resolution establishing ballot argument rules and deadlines. And again, that's a standard boilerplate resolution that sets the deadlines. I would point out that we did have I discovered one typo after the posting of the agenda, and Ms. Cook did include an updated resolution. I mistakenly said that rebuttals were due on Monday, March 24th. March 24th is a Tuesday, my bad. So we changed that to Monday, March 23rd. So the calendar all matches up with the county's deadlines there. With a consolidated election, we basically just adopt the deadlines for arguments and rebuttals that the county sets. And that way the county can manage all of the traffic, because, they're dealing with dozens, if not potentially, 100 measures on the June 2nd ballot. So we all index our deadlines similarly so that the county can track all that stuff. So the next steps here, if the council does place this on the ballot for either June 2nd or November 3rd, we'll coordinate with the LA County Registrar of Voters just to get the election processed. We are going to set up the deadlines and meet those deadlines. Our office is required to prepare an impartial analysis of the measure that will go into the ballot. It's 500 words, impartial explanation of what does this measure do. I typically write those, and I'll coordinate with Mr. Rusin on that, and we'll get that done by the March 13th deadline on there. And then ballot voter information materials will be prepared. Again, there may be ballot arguments that citizens may want to submit, things like that, and those could be printed in the ballot as well. And that will inform the voter when they come to the polling place and cast their vote. And so staff's recommendation this evening is to call a special municipal election to be consolidated with the June 2nd primary. The other option is November 3rd to put it on with the general council election. Cost seems to be about same, because again, they're the two big elections of the year, so there's agency cost sharing. And that is about it. And I am happy to answer any questions the city council may have.
Thank you very much for the presentation. Does council have any questions?
I don't think I do.
Not yet? Okay. Let's go to public comment. Thank you, everyone, for your patience. It's a thick list. First is Al Ebright, please. Still here? No Al for the moment? Come on ice. Christian Campisi.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. Mr. Priest, thank you. My name is Christian Campisi, and I have had the privilege of serving on the steering committee that was formed by citizens called PVE Residents for a Safe and Secure Future. I live in Monte Malaga, and I have 2 young kids that attend Monte Malaga Elementary School. Over the past year, I've appeared before you several times to report on the work our group of dedicated residents has undertaken to better understand the city's financial outlook, particularly as we approach the expiration of Measure E. What we found was not a surprise, but it was significant. The expiration of Measure E represents a structural risk to the city's ability to maintain core public safety services at their current level. Rather than wait for the risk to become a crisis, residents chose to lean in. We studied the issue carefully, putting in hundreds and hundreds of volunteer hours to develop a responsible solution. We put in the work. We gathered nearly 1,600 valid signatures, as you saw in the last presentation, from registered Palos Verdes Estates voters. These are your neighbors, these are your friends, these are people that live in our community. The effort was thoughtful, it was analytical, and it was rooted in a shared belief that public safety is the backbone of a strong and thriving community. Our police department works every day to prevent home burglaries, respond quickly when suspicious activity is reported, and make arrests when crimes occur. Response times matter, especially when seconds can make all the difference. Likewise, the Los Angeles County Fire Department provides emergency medical response and fire protection services that save lives and protect property. These services are not optional amenities. They define our quality of life. We have an opportunity now to meet the moment. Across the region, we're seeing what happens when cities delay difficult fiscal decisions. The city of San Marino recently declared a fiscal emergency and is now moving an emergency tax measure forward with far urgent circumstances. This is not a position we should aspire to be in. We can act proactively, we can stabilize funding before instability forces reactive measures. This proposal is about long-term stewardship. It's about preserving home values, maintaining the quality of life we all enjoy. It's about ensuring that the next generation of homeowners, families who want to buy here, raise children here, and put down roots, inherit a city that is safe, stable, and financially sound. This measure meets the moment. Thank you.
Thank you. Constance Sullivan, please.
Hi, I'm Constance Sullivan, 932 Via Nogales. I wasn't expecting to speak first, but I'm one of the signatures on that petition. I'm glad that we're moving forward and it will be on the ballot. If we want good, essential public services, we have to pay for them. We knew Measure E was insufficient when we passed it, and the day of reckoning would come, and it's here. So let's do this. Thank you.
Short and sweet. Thank you. Paul McNamara.
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, you have a lot of people who want to talk to you, so my goal is to finish in 45 seconds. It'd be easy to get lost in a discussion of whether we should do this, need it or not, but as was said, this is a procedural matter. For that reason, I urge you to adopt the staff recommendation and go forward with a ballot at the first available opportunity. The reason? In case it fails. We know Measure E expires in 2027, and in what I hope is the unlikely event it fails, we want to have as much time as possible to decide what the next steps would be. So on the procedural matter, I urge you to adopt the staff recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you. Norm Eagle, please.
Good evening, Mayor Kempson, City Council members. I have lived in Palos Verdes Estates for 47 years and want to preserve our way of life that has made this city so special. I support the parcel tax because it creates predictable funding, avoids sudden service cuts, prevents deferred maintenance or staffing cuts, maintains our local Palos Verdes Estates Police Department with our fast 9/11 response times. It provides stable support for our fire and emergency medical services. I don't like to pay any more property tax than I already am paying. I figured it out that it's going to be approximately $2,600, $2,700 a year for me. If you break it down by a month, it basically comes to about a couple of dinners each month, approximately $225 in a month in my case. It protects, keeps our police department, protects our response times, and safeguards our property values. That seems like a smart investment for Palos Verdes Estates. I want to urge the City Council to place the Citizens Initiative on the June 2nd ballot. I also want to thank each of you for your hard work and dedicated service to our community. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And since you're standing, Frank Clark. Well, you know.
Thank you, City Council members. I've been a resident of PVE for 43 years. In 2017 and 2018, I was asked to participate in the Financial Advisory Committee, which turned out to be a mind-numbing experience. This was immediately following the failure of Measure D, which was intended to fund our police department. What I learned was that the city for years had developed a long list of essential yet deferred routine maintenance tasks throughout the city. At the time, this was compounded by the failure of Measure D, resulting in the city having to use financial reserves to fund the police department. City leaders then focused on developing a new replacement measure at a level that would have a better chance of acceptance. In doing so, it was recognized that the generation of $5 million per year dedicated to the police department would be insufficient in the later years of the current Measure E, which is where we find ourselves today, and where we find ourselves, again, having to use reserve funds. Further, the city has contracted with the county for years for fire protection. During my time on the advisory committee, we observed that there are no negotiations, no discussion, and each year we saw double-digit percentage increases. The proposed Measure E includes a reasonable base fee for a city such as ours, addresses inflation which was ignored in 2018, and finally provides the city with funding to pay for emergency services desired by the residents and allow other general service funds to be spent on maintaining our city. Like others, I urge Council to proceed with putting this on the June 2nd initiative.
Thank you. I apologize if I butcher this name because it's potentially handwriting, so forgive me. Is it Rob Fronauer or Fronauer? Fronauer, there we go.
Thank you, City Council, for hearing me. I just have a quick story about how important it is to keep the police department. I have a stepson who suffers from mental illness. He was staying with us 2 years ago. 2 o'clock in the morning, he decided to get up because he wanted a jacket, wanted to go shopping. I live on Paseo del Campo. He walked all the way down here to Malaga Cove and was checking all the windows out. PV Police Department saw him, asked him some questions. instead of arresting him and taking him away, they brought him to our house. Knocked on the door. This is Matt. I can't thank them enough. That's what community police department's about. We need to keep them. Thank you.
Amen to that. Watch how this timing worked out. Joe Marino.
Don't start it yet. Okay, good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council. My name is Joe Marino. I'm Vice President of the Palos Verdes Police Officers Association. I was fortunate enough to call Palos Verdes home. My brothers and I attended PV schools. We felt safe, we felt protected, especially in PV estates. Day in, day out, members of your PV Police Department carry out that reputation of safety. They respond to a wide variety of calls, take weapons and narcotics off the streets, put criminals in jail, and are first arriving to critical incidents like traffic accidents, disputes, violent crimes, mental health crises, medical calls, and even fires. I have witnessed or been a part of these calls firsthand. I've witnessed your officers carry children out of a home to evacuate during a fire, or when CPR was started and AED delivered life-saving shocks before the fire department got there, or when officers stop a DUI driver night after night to potentially save countless innocent lives on our roads, or when our detectives track down a suspect and our warrant team makes an arrest in South Central LA to bring him back, that bad guy, to our jail. And now you've heard a story earlier tonight like Officer Zabukovec's. Recently, I stood shoulder to shoulder with Officer Z, armed with a garden hose, inside a home that had an attic fire, extinguishing the fire prior to the fire department's arrival. I have also witnessed on many occasions one dispatcher working solo, answering multiple 911 calls, communicate with units on the radio, enter information in the computer, and then totally switch gears to become a jailer when officers bring that bad guy to our jail. I also challenge you to find an officer that really works a 3-12 work schedule as described in our job announcements. Officers are regularly working consecutive overtime shifts, sometimes 18-hour shifts, just as a result of one sick call. But your officers continue to serve with professionalism, respect, integrity, dedication, and enthusiasm. All these stories and more, despite the well-known fact that we are understaffed, underfunded, and are up against obstacles like attrition, recruitment, retention, and keeping up with technology like computers, radios, police vehicles, and a less than adequate training budget that hardly allows us to keep up with the advanced training needs of modern day policing. Okay, Joe, so you've been doing just fine with all the stuff you have now with our current budget. Why do you need more? Because even the world's strongest bridge needs retrofitting and updates. And to keep that metaphorical bridge up and running so that we can all travel safely on it and to prevent from collapse, this measure needs to pass. Because officer burnout is real, injuries are real, family emergencies that can happen anytime would put a catastrophic stress on our staffing. We have the growth, we have the drive, now we need the financial stability. I once had an academy instructor who told us this is a thankless profession, not because people won't say thank you one day, but because as public servants, we simply don't expect it. But to hear that a group of our citizens, band together to support us with this initiative, it's hard not to get emotional about it, but that is our thank you. That is the ultimate thank you. And the reason why we all chose to work for PV are people like that. Our commitment to our community is without a doubt a two-way street. We as a department support you as a community, and now it's more clear than ever that this community supports their police department. So let's continue to support each other, stand united, and I encourage you to get the Citizens Initiative on the June ballot and pass the upcoming measure. Thank you.
Thank you. Timur Tissimer.
Hi, Timur Testmer. We've been residents for 30 years, not 43 or 46, but we love PV. We'd never leave. I have had to call the police department. I've had to call the fire department, and one time for a life-saving event for myself. And thank God I live in this city, and they took care of me. And I encourage you to support this measure and put it on the June ballot. Thank you.
Thank you. Steve Lopes.
Thank you, members of the City Council. Steve Lopes. I've been a resident for 25 years. Like others, I've had the fortunate or unfortunate need to use the police department. Came home to a burglary about 3 years ago. They showed up at 11 o'clock that night. They were extremely professional. We were able to catch the perpetrators several months later and I can't thank them enough for their professionalism. So, look, we all want this to be a great community, and I think this measure helps us do that. I would strongly urge you to put it on the June 2nd ballot. Thank you.
Thanks. George Francisco.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. I want to begin by acknowledging a concern many residents understandably have. At first glance, the proposed increase feels large. I believe it deserves a thoughtful explanation. The situation we're in today did not arise from a single decision or recent actions. It's a result of long-standing structural constraints. When Measure E was originally adopted, the amount proposed was based on what polling suggested could pass a 2/3 voter approval requirement under Prop 13, rather than on the full level of funding the city would ultimately need. To make that work, the city deferred capital projects and tightly controlled spending. That approach helped in the short term, but it also meant that certain costs were postponed rather than eliminated. Measure E also did not include a cost of living adjustment. Over time, even with property tax revenues growing at about 4% annually, expenses related to infrastructure, public safety, and pensions have grown more quickly. That imbalance is what has gradually led to today's structural deficits. To control costs, the city has also reduced staffing. Full-time equivalent positions declined from 62.6 in fiscal year 2019 to 55 full-time positions in fiscal year 2025, a reduction of more than 12%. Where did that reduction came from? That decrease was comprised almost entirely of approximately 18% reduction in the city's police force. Maintaining our own police force is vital to the safety of our community. We have benefited from a strong record of public safety, and that is something we should not take for granted. Policing is a demanding, inherently risky profession, and maintaining adequate staffing is an important part of protecting both our officers and the community they serve. Those decisions help present a more balanced budget, but they did not eliminate the underlying needs. Looking forward, the city faces significant infrastructure needs over the next 5 years, including roads, sewers, stormwater systems, public facilities, and parks. These are investments in safety, functionality, and preserving the community we all value. At the same time, reserves have been drawn down over many years to maintain services and infrastructure. Rebuilding those reserves is essential to protect the city during emergencies and economic downturns. Importantly, unlike many other assessed taxes, 100% of the funds from Measure E replacement remain within the city. To help ensure clarity and accountability, I've created a financial model that incorporates the replacement parcel tax amount, the planned pension paydown, funding for infrastructure needs, replenishment of cash reserves, and coverage of projected structural deficits. Once a stormwater study is received, which I believe is March or April, I intend to provide that model to the Financial Advisory Committee and to the Citizens Initiative for review. My goal is for the City Council and the community to have a clear, concise, and transparent plan for how these funds would be used. Finally, over the last several years, I've met individually with members of the City Council to discuss the city's finances and long-term challenges. Based on those conversations and the diligence I've seen, I have full confidence in this council's ability to administer these funds responsibly in the best interest of the community. The Measure E replacement tax is not about expanding government or increasing spending for its own sake. It's about long-term stewardship, addressing deferred obligations, restoring financial balance, and ensuring the city remains safe, well-maintained, and fiscally stable for future generations.
Thank you. Chris Riegel, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, City Council. We've been residents of PVE for 27 years, and this is just an amazing city, as we all know. And look, all cities are going through these, budget issues in one way or another. And this city is just so worth it. And, if we don't pass this now, we're going to pass something else that's going to cost more later. I mean, we've got deferred maintenance, we've got rising costs, we've got all the things that every city in the country is going through. So I just want to keep this city, as good as it is. It's so worth it. So I'm in favor. Thanks.
Thanks. John Williams.
Good evening, City Council, City staff, residents. My name is John Williams. I live in Monte Malaga for 44 years. And we all understand that the city needs money. There's no question about that. And we also agree that the police department is very important. But I don't think the current parcel tax is the best way to accomplish those objectives. To start with, I'd like to bring your attention to the city newsletter for January. Which had this very interesting chart, which showed the projected expenditures and the expected revenues. Now, one of the issues with that chart was it assumed that Measure E expired in July of 2026. And that imparts a certain amount of urgency to this process. Actually, it doesn't expire until July of 2027. Now, another interesting aspect of that chart was it identified a structural deficit of $7.8 million. What that means is that with an additional $7.8 million, the city is operating on an even keel. The parcel tax before you asked for about twice that amount of money, which is all dedicated to public safety. What often gets overlooked is that frees up the funding formerly going to those that function to any other purpose. And that's what I want to talk about. Earlier in this year, I asked the City Council what the plan was to spend that surplus. And I was directed to review the city website. Well, I'd already done that, and I'd been to those meetings. And so the issue is, what are we going to do with that extra money, that extra $8 million? I haven't seen a plan. I'm sure all of you have got some great ideas on how to spend it, but there's no agreement, and it will be quite a discussion to come to an agreement. I'd like to see that agreement before I vote for the tax. Maybe $8 million is too much, maybe it's not enough. At this point, we just have a number. Finally, the tax measure as written does not fund infrastructure or pay down pension debt. That is an objective stated by several people tonight, but past experience shows that hasn't always been achieved.
At your time, sir.
So in closing, I think we have the time to get this right. We have another year, and what we need is for a plan from the City Council on how to use this money. Thank you.
Thanks.
Mr. Williams, I want you to know I wrote a whole speech just for you, so stick around. I'm going to address. I'm going to address all of those points.
I'm not leaving.
Let's keep going. Bob Stearns, please.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, City Council, City staff, and residents. My name is Bob Stearns. I reside at 2220 Via La Brea. Tonight I am speaking in favor of putting this measure on the ballot of the next municipal election, June 2nd. Let me express my appreciation for Christian Campisi and his team at PV Residents for a safe, secure future, for taking the initiative to lead this grassroots effort to renew Measure E and keep our police department and public services funded for the next 10 years. This coalition of dedicated residents care deeply about the city. For the past 18 months, they literally put their lives on hold to pull all the pieces together, financial, operational, legal, and then invested countless hours towards gathering signatures in order to qualify to bring it before you now. They deserve to have this measure move on June 2nd, and we deserve it. Thank you.
Thank you. Andre Vigne.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to address the council tonight. My name is Andre Viemier. I'm an 18-year resident of PVE. My wife and I moved to PVE in 2007 and raised our children here. We moved from West Torrance for the schools, safety in the neighborhood, and to join the PV Golf Club. My wife wanted to do that, by the way, not me. We love it here, right? I'm in support of the citizen-initiated public safety parcel tax. It does so much more than its predecessor, Measure E. In addition to continuing funding for our police and fire departments, it funds long-deferred maintenance and capital projects, eliminates the city's operating deficit, pays down pension liability at the rate of $1 million per year, and supports efforts to attract and retain qualified staff, and rebuilds the city's depleted reserves, restoring fiscal stability. As a retired aerospace engineer, I'm not generally in favor of increased taxes or costs, but this is 100% the right thing to do for our wonderful city. As we heard earlier tonight, response time is a lifesaver. It's not always just responding to crimes, it's responding to medical emergencies, and that is supremely important for an aging community. The cost, I did some pencil and paper calculations here. The net increase, I'm not even going to talk about the net increase. Let's just talk about the total cost of this Measure E replacement. For me, it's about the cost on a monthly basis of cable TV and streaming services. And to me, there's just no choice. It's this replacement task's way over my personal luxury items or whatever it would be. So I'm 100% in favor. Thank you.
Joan Davidson. Past tense.
Hello. I think Palos Verdes Estates can be summed up in 3 words: historic, pristine, and safe. Historic, it was purchased, all of Palos Verdes was purchased by Frank Vanderlip. By 1923, we had La Venta Inn built, and we had our own police department. Today, you drive into Palos Verdes Estates and your jaw drops. The historic landscaping remains by Frederick Olmsted Company because the owner, Frank Vanderlip, always hired the best. Pristine, if you drive from Redondo Beach looking at our coastline, you'd think you were in the Mediterranean. It is beautiful. Safe, since 1923, PV Estates has had their own police, and you simply cannot put a price on safety. You heard tonight about our extraordinary police department. We all moved here for these reasons, and to keep this up doesn't happen by magic. It takes good leadership and management that we have, and it takes funding. I just want to note, I've lived here a long time, we used to have utility taxes and other taxes. They were sunset, and they never came back. But the costs remain, and our city is bearing the burden of those costs. So we need to keep the historic character. We need to keep our pristine city and our safety. When I enter this city, I know that I'm home and I'm safe. Thank you.
Thank you. Blake Gilman. No? Okay. Julie Haynes.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm Julie Webster Haynes, and I've lived here for over 60 years. I beat you all. I went to Montmalaga, Malaga Cove, and PV High. We're having our 50th reunion year, so scary.
You look about 42. Were you born in your backyard?
Anyway, the city, our police department, they're our friends. When I grew up here, I mean, I was friends in high school with Mike Tracy, who you guys all honor every year, which makes me cry. I know Bob Reese, Falcon and the Snowman. I've lived here through all the stuff with PVE. When I would go to a party, there was always a PVE policeman. They knew where every party was, and they were watching out for me. My mom would call and say, "Where is Julie?" So they're our friends. We moved back. I brought my husband back. I have a son here with 2 grandchildren. I have another one that's in Rancho PV, but that's okay.
We forgive him.
But I just want to say, they're our friends, and they're safe. It's dark here. They know where our streets are. They know where we live. They're our friends. Just like that one gentleman said, they didn't put somebody in jail. They called the parents or they took them home. This is more, they come in 5 minutes, but this is more, if I'm looking as a mother, this is really important to me to have you put this on the June 2nd ballot, and it's got to pass. I had a driveway talk. A lot of my friends who are old, we've been here forever, they all want it. We want this. This is not too expensive to have a local police department. And I love Luke Hellinga, our police chief. He is the best. So anyway, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks. Meg Walker.
Okay, good evening, City Council and fellow residents of Palos Verdes Estates. My name is Megan Walker. I am the operator and concessionaire of La Venta Inn. I've been a Palos Verdes resident since 2019. I am a mother of 2 girls at Monte Malaga, and I am a member of the steering committee for the Parcel Tax Initiative. I'm here tonight addressing you on behalf of nearly 1,600 citizens who signed the petition for our new parcel tax initiative for the June 2nd ballot. Our revenue reality is clear. Palos Verdes is predominantly residential with a limited sales tax base. I know, I'm part of it. And no hotels, auto malls, or large retail anchors are here. So we get just 11 cents of every property tax dollar while most goes elsewhere. Municipal services like police and fire are non-discretionary budget essentials. They demand steady funding, especially as Measure E expires next year, leaving a massive gap. If not this parcel tax, then what? Zoning expansions for large-scale commercial development? We all know this community rejects those changes that would erode our residential identity. No gentrification, no high-density shifts, just preservation of what makes Palos Verdes Estates home for all of us. This parcel tax ensures stability, keeps us residential, and voices the support of those 1,600 neighbors we can't fit in this room, but I know they stand with us. And I have just a second here to also tell one of many wonderful stories I have for our police department. So during the windstorm, I get a bunch of calls from the alarm company, and they're like, someone's broken into La Venta. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? We turn on the security cameras, and Palos Verdes Police is already there. They're already looking around. They clear the building, they close it up, and off they go. And I didn't get a chance to thank the chief, so I just want to say thank you very much for helping out. So thank you very much. I encourage you to put this on the ballot. Thank you.
Thank you. Bob Wade, please.
Mayor Kemps and members of the City Council. Back when I was a little younger, studying law in Washington, D.C., the Senate Finance Committee chairman was Russell Long, and he was quoted as saying, "Don't tax you, don't tax me, tax the fellow behind the tree." My point in saying that is nobody likes to pay more taxes. But If we want to continue to live in a safe and secure community, if we want to maintain the quality of life that we enjoy in Palos Verdes Estates, if we want to protect our property values, and if we want to ensure these things for generations to come, we have no choice but to pass this citizens' initiative. There is no viable alternative before us. Now, there are those who don't support this measure. Some want to study it more. Some want to try something else. But the time for talk is past. The time to act is now. And no one, I repeat, no one, has brought forth a viable alternative to what is now before us. It's time to come together as a community, stop talking, and start working to get this measure passed in June. We are the fellow behind the tree, and we may not want to pay more taxes, but we definitely don't want to live with the consequences of a failure to act.
Thank you. Joseph Molina.
Thank you, Council. I guess I'm the baby on the block because I've only been here for 5 years. But in any regard, I had a ton of stuff I wanted to say, but I'm going to touch on two. And one of them is really important to me. So I direct that at those who want to keep talking and want to come up and tell us to wait and be patient. I was directly impacted by the infrastructure here. I'm the owner at 4425 Lucera Circle, and that uprooted my entire family. Christian, I have you beat a little bit because I have 7 kids. And, uprooting that and having my backyard off limits to 7 kids, 4 of them which are young kids, is not fun, all right? And having this weight and not having the money to fix things that collapsed and caused a landslide in my backyard, caused flooding in my front yard is not fun. So I encourage those of you who may be here that are against this to think twice about that. And I'm here because my situation has been rectified and corrected, so I thank you. But the reason I'm here is because I don't want any of you to experience what I experienced. It's not fun. And if we have an opportunity to prevent that, then we need to act on it now, okay? The second reason I'm here is to touch on how wonderful the police force is. I come from an environment that's not fun, a very poverty-stricken place that I wouldn't want any of you to experience. And I'm happy to say, Julie, your son just sold me my second home here in Palos Verdes, so thank you for that. But the reason why we got this second home is because it's for my kids, and I want to see my grandkids raised here. And I'm not willing to jeopardize a single cent or safety at any cost. There is no cost to safety, someone mentioned earlier, and that's true. And we should all think about that. And I hope to buy more homes here so my kids can live here and my grandkids can live here. So we need to think about those things. All right, safety matters. And to respond, one of the officers mentioned they responded in a minute. I challenge anyone in this room that if our police force gets cut, to think what that response time is going to matter to you when you need help. You may not need it now, but when that police force gets cut, if this isn't passed, you are going to be wishing you passed this. So, Christian, I stand with you and your team tonight. All right, thank you.
Oh. Thank you. Chris Brothers.
Hi, Chris Brothers. I've been a member of this wonderful community for about 30 years. I don't know if that's long or short nowadays, but...
Seems right in the middle.
Exactly, exactly. A little over 8 or so years ago, I actually reached out to the city when they were having the financial challenges the last time around. And I did that for a reason, not because I wanted to inflict myself into helping work with the city, but because I coincidentally was one of the few financial analysts that helped another municipality do a financial restructuring, and that was a small little county a little south of here that lost about $2 billion, and I was one of the few advisors. And so I reached out really to say, as someone who has done this before, how can I help? And I will tell you at that time, when we then fast forwarded to Measure E, and this was after probably 3 or 4 months of doing detailed financial analyses, I look at what's on the ballot now, or what will be on the ballot, and I can't imagine trying to run the city and keep to the safety that we have without it. And so hugely supportive of it, and it's more than just an emotion. It's from looking at your numbers and looking at the good and the bad. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Darcel Hampson.
I appreciate the opportunity to come and listen, I'm certainly only in my little corner of the world, and I'm trying to be open-minded. I'd like to ask you, though, when do you find a city produces the most votes? So would it be in June, or would it be in November? Because our issues are going to affect everybody in the city. Everybody should have an opportunity to seriously think about it and vote on it. I'm concerned about seniors. I really am. I haven't heard anything that opts them out of this. I'd like to know more. Does it? I don't think so. And if it doesn't opt seniors out of this tax, that's wrong. I appreciate the time that the initiative put together. I live next door. Nobody came to my house to ask for my signature. I don't know why. I see people walk by, I talk to them, but I sort of imagine, and I'd like to ask you about conflict of interest, sir. May I ask your name? I'm sorry, the election fellow. I'll explain. While it's true we have very few businesses here, the catering by Meg has required a lot of the police's time to be going up there for calls about noise, about disturbance. So many. I'm not, I don't look for problems, but I'll support my neighbors that live next door, that I went to Montemelica with, that I saw walk his son every day for 6 years. I was a 3-time mom in Montemelica. I appreciate the police so much. And Luke Hellinga, when he was a rookie, came through my house when I had a break-in my first 2 months of living there. And my husband was out of the country, and I had a baby in my arms. So I'm all for, I love the way they treated us. But this initiative is like open season for everything else. I will vote no if there aren't tight restrictions on it. I want to vote for the police. I will vote yes for the police. Give us something to vote for that isn't a vanity project, that doesn't have all sorts of tentacles for safety. May I suggest something that the city can do now without this? You can give the firemen the use of that space below to develop that empty dining room space so they have more living space. You can do that now. And we can also not use the pesticidal contract that's $68,000.
Ma'am, your time's up.
Okay, but you could hire a new officer for the jail with that money.
Thank you.
I hope you'll consider what I've said.
Kate Greenberg, please.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, City Council, staff, and fellow residents. My name is Kate Greenberg. Some of you know that I was treasurer 4 years for the city, and ending in December of 2025. Now Martin is taking over and doing a great job. But since I couldn't get punished enough, I decided to retire from being treasurer and start on the effort to raise the tax. And I was painfully aware that the tax was expiring, that it was never sufficient, and we needed to put all hands on deck to try to get this done. And to correct, I'm a CPA, trained at Deloitte. I was a CFO and chief audit executive for over 30 years for different companies, public and private. So I know where all the debits and credits are buried. And I can tell you that those of you who were not around when Measure D failed, that's when I started to get interested in the city. I was working full-time, but I joined the Finance Advisory Committee, and we did the first long-term model, and it showed us going underwater soon. To give you some perspective, the city's portfolio, when I left, at the high point, which is June, when you still have taxes that you collected in the beginning of the year and you haven't spent them all yet, was about $40 million. Our annual spend, based on the budget, not on what we probably really need, is about $30 million. So we have barely a year's worth of savings in the bank, if you want to look at it that way. We'd have to sell some of that portfolio at a loss. During the dry spell, when you pay all the bills, the second half of the calendar year, which is the beginning of the fiscal year, you deplete those resources and you're way down at the end of December in terms of numbers. This is not an excessive tax. Also, to correct some misinformation, we spent a great deal of time. George Francisco, who has also got a background similar to mine, will put together a model of a city forecast. He worked with me, he worked with the council members to look at the things that would likely be spent, including paying down pension debt, including taking care of some of the way backlogged infrastructure. The city has spent less. We went without $5 million that one year in 2018. That'd be worth $6 million today if we just put it in treasuries at 3%. There's been a 30%, am I over?
You're
There's
over.
been a
30% inflation rate since 2018. So put those thoughts in your head. Thank you.
My beloved neighbor, Jenny Dixon. I figured I'd give you an extra 2 seconds to stand up.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jenny Dixon, and I've been, well, I don't know if it matters how long we've been here, but I have 2 properties, and I've been here since 1976. But first of all, I treasure our city in every respect, our police department, and all of our wonderful amenities we have here. But I do have some questions and thoughts about whether or not we need this large a tax. So I echo the sentiments of the citizen who put his letter, that you have the letter onto the agenda. And I won't repeat his words, but I agree, voters will be more likely to vote yes on the new parcel tax if it spells out precisely what amount is needed to keep our city functioning efficiently. The tax text should include funding for needs you've determined in your town hall meetings, which includes pension debt and infrastructure. I heard tonight some people said this was all part of it, but I didn't see it. I read through it, but I did not see that, so you maybe can elaborate. The other item I have a problem with is I don't think it should be called Measure E or an extension or whatever. And I think I told Victoria, we talked about that in great detail, that it's a replacement tax actually. So anyway, that I have a problem with that. And then the actual use of the money, the dollars needed. I don't think we should inflate it at all with one-time costs and then making it a permanent, unending tax hike. The proposed new tax should be aligned with what's needed. With a nearly $8 million annual deficit, why do we need to cover it with a tax of over $16 million? We should be very fair about that, I think. And we have a lot of senior citizens and people on limited income that can't afford to have their taxes doubled, actually. So thank you very much.
Thank you. One point of clarification, because I've heard a lot. I keep hearing references to never-ending tax, and I believe it's a 10-year initiative.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, could you repeat the question?
So the question is, I've heard various people in the community make comments about it being a never-ending tax. Could you please clarify that, in fact, the initiative has a sunset and what the date is, what the length is?
Yeah, the sunset is June 30, 2037. So it does have a specific sunset.
So it is not a never-ending tax, is that
It is
correct?
not a perpetual or indefinite tax.
Okay.
It has a,
Thank you. John Nendek, please.
Good evening, everyone. I'm in favor of the June vote for this new parcel tax. I'm a relative newcomer, only moved here in 1995, so still getting my feet wet on the city here. But I've been involved in various things the city. I was president of the Beach Club, I'm on the board of the Golf Club, and I'm involved in the Finance Advisory Committee. But I'm here really as a financial expert. I'm a CPA. I serve on boards of companies. And what I would say is, given what I've heard from everybody about the needs, and I think 80% of the speakers have talked about the needs, be they police, fire, and beyond. So if we assume we have those needs, what is the most efficient way of dealing with them? In this city, we don't have a terranea. We, I think, have no interest in having a terranea, so we don't have commercial revenue. 75% of our revenues come from residential taxes, which is the property tax and the existing parcel tax. Of the property tax, almost 90 cents on the dollar leaves the city, whereas for the parcel tax, 100 cents on the dollar stays in the city. So I believe that the parcel tax for we as residents is by far the most effective and efficient tool to give the city the funding that it needs. Thank you.
Thank you. Rob Kane, you're up. Oh, I saw someone stand up in the back and... You left. Oh, must have left. All right. Steve Friedrich.
Good evening, City Council members, and thank you for the dedication you've done to our community over the years. My name is Steve Friedrich. My wife and I moved here, my wife Marianne and I moved here in 2005, a little bit over 20 years. We have 5 children and 11 grandchildren. This is a very special place for us, obviously. I've been relatively involved in this community since I arrived here, both starting with Neighborhood Watch as an area coordinator, helping develop the initial start of our disaster preparedness program back when Dan Dreiling was our police chief, and a lot of other programs. And I was a volunteer heavily involved with Measure E. I would like to, 2 points I'd like to make. One is, I would really like to implore everybody who has any confusion about what this tax is all about to get facts. Facts are not necessarily from next door. It's not from newsletters that are outside of our city government. Those are pretty obviously not with the best intentions as far as I'm concerned for our community and our city as a whole. Please educate yourself with facts. The Citizens Initiative, I am expecting they are going to provide tons of public information that is factual content, that is certified content, verified content that we can start educating ourselves on. Because to listen to some of the dribble that is on Nextdoor, some of the information that's online is not doing yourself or your community a service. We're a very educated community. Let's act that way. Let's get our information. Let's get the information out. The sooner, the better. Let's get it out to our community in their mailboxes. And if people have questions, you should be able to come back and get an answer for it. But this is an essential parcel tax to save our community, to make sure we've got sustainability into the future. So what I'm going to close with is, could all of those, now we've had a lot of people that have spoken and they have left because it's getting later in the evening, but I would love to do this, so bear with me. Could all of those here in attendance now please stand if they support this tax measure? That's what I would expect. This is why I'm a volunteer here. You're all wonderful human beings. I expect nothing less. I got to work with some of the best volunteers, about 120 volunteers during Measure E, and I just see more and more people that I'm so proud of. So thank you very much, and I wish us all the best of luck.
Thank you. Thanks for bearing with us. Two more, unless there's more cards. Lynn Solomita, please.
Thank you very much and good evening. I hate to follow Steve Friedrich because there's no way I can do that, but I have been a member of this community for about 30 years. I served on Measure A, Measure D, Measure E, and I would have to say I would like to never have to be involved with another measure that is supporting our police and our fire department. I don't think there's any question that anybody in this room wants to pay more taxes. Nobody wants more taxes. But you have to pay for the services that you want to keep your community safe. And I would strongly urge the council to please put this on the June 2nd ballot so that we can move forward with this and make sure our community stays the wonderful community it is today. Thank you.
Thanks for coming. Sharon Papa.
Good evening, council members, and to the neighbors that are here. I'm thrilled that so many of you are here being supportive. Steve Friedrich, you and I are cut from the same cloth because what I intended to say was more than likely tomorrow we will get an anonymous newsletter from a two-time failed city council candidate, rumored to control that, who will fill it with half-truths, mistruths, some information, a word here and there that might be accurate. So those of you that do have questions, the place to get your answers is from the Citizens Committee that put this together. Don't be bamboozled by the keyboard warriors who are probably furious right now typing away for what they're going to say for tomorrow. Public safety is expensive. Every city, more than half the budget goes to police and fire. As a 40-year law enforcement executive and oversaw budgets, like it or not, police and fire are the most expensive thing any city pays for, and it's the most important because it drives your sense of community and it drives your property values. The police department shouldn't have to wonder budget to budget to budget, are they going to be funded? Are they not going to be funded? We have retention issues here because we constantly debate this issue and we need to put it to rest once and for all. I, for one, trust the council that once that money is earmarked for police and fire, the extra or what the money that is there goes to, that's what we elected you to do. And for us to think we're going to get a consensus among ourselves as to what it should be spent on is not going to happen. So I'm going to rely on all of you to be good stewards of that money. And I think all of us believe in these folks or we wouldn't have elected them. So thank you.
Thank you for your service. Are there any other public comments, cards that I don't have, or anyone that wishes to speak? Okay. City Attorney, back to you.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to make a clarifying point to the council in response to some of the comments we've had this evening about maybe do something different or maybe hold off on this or something. Those are not available options to the city council this evening because the petition has gathered the required signatures, the measure has qualified. Your only discretionary call this evening is when to put it on the ballot, but it must be put on the ballot. I would also add that do something different. You don't have the authority to alter the language of this initiative. It needs to go on the ballot as written by the proponents, and that's out of state elections code. Thank you.
Thank you for the clarification. Back to the council for commentary or discussion.
I can kick us off if you want.
Sure, go ahead.
You going to finish us off? Okay, great. Great. Well, I'm happy to see so many people. I'm always happy to see council chambers full. So so all of you have been in the city for so long, you'll remember it's like a little competition of who's longer. I love seeing it. I was elected city treasurer in March of 2017, which was the same election that Measure D failed. A year later, in 2018, Measure E was on the ballot. My comments at the time were there was virtually no appetite in the community for moving away from our Palos Verdes Estates Police Department, but a $5 million tax to pay for a $7 million police department simply did not pencil out and did not adequately address our fiscal issues. Now, I promised I wouldn't say it, but I have to. So I told you so.
You never learn.
No. I also said at the time that work needed to be done to show residents what the city's operating expenses are, what the long-term obligations are, most notably our pension obligations, and what our required infrastructure spending is, both in the short term and in the long run. I believe the city councils of recent years have done that work. We've modeled our long-term pension obligations. We passed a pension funding policy that says in years when we have a budget surplus, a percentage of that surplus will go toward extra payments and paying down our pensions at CalPERS. In the years when we had surpluses, that worked, but we don't. And the payments were made, but now we don't have budget surpluses. In fact, we have budget deficits. So no more money to pay down pensions. Just to keep up, not to let that problem get worse and maybe make some progress, we need to spend an extra $1 million a year at a minimum to pay down that obligation. And some would argue that that number is closer to $2 million. We have attacked our infrastructure and our deferred maintenance issues. We're balancing annual maintenance like street slurrying and trimming trees with longer-term capital projects. We completed a sewer master plan, and we have a list of needed repairs, and we have that broken down in years 1 through 5 and 6 through 20. And spoiler alert, it's not cheap. It's going to be a lot of money, and it's measured in the millions. Last year, we commissioned a storm drain master plan, and that work is just about done. And my expectation is that we will receive a similar plan to the sewer plan. We'll have needed repairs in years 1 through 5. We'll have needed repairs in years 6 through 20. And again, that will be measured in the millions of dollars. And the list goes on. You can see the numbers add up quickly, and they are measured in the millions. We have had so many public meetings over the last year to share and present this information to residents. So when this group, Palos Verdes Estates Residents for a Safe, Secure Future, it needs an acronym, recognized the reality of what the city is facing. And they decided that no matter what, they wanted to ensure stable funding for public safety. And I commend them for taking that initiative and moving the ball forward. Public safety, police and fire, is over 60% of our operating expenses. So on annual revenue of about $25 million, that's about $16 million for public safety. That leaves $9 million for everything else. That is not an adequate number. I like that this group decided to launch an initiative for both police and fire. I believe their message to council is clear. We'll initiate a tax measure for residents to fund public safety, and the city council needs to solve the remaining problems around infrastructure, long-term obligations, and just normal operations, and I think that's fair. I support putting this initiative on the June ballot. I support a community discussion and a community decision.
Might I say I told you so. That was very well said.
Couldn't help myself. I'm so
You want
sorry.
me to go next? I'm happy to go next.
Go ahead.
All right. Do you have the clicker, George?
Oh, a full presentation.
I've got a video.
Wait a minute. You sure you don't want to let David go first? He's going to be here a while.
All right.
It looked like last week's photo.
Yeah. Well, good evening, everyone, and thank you for all being here tonight. I want to take a few minutes to talk honestly about where our city has been, where we stand today, and where we need to go. Because on June 2nd, the voters of Palos Verdes Estates will face a simple but profound question: what kind of city do we want to be? Let me start with some brief history. In 2017, we had Measure D. It was a revenue measure for our fire department, as we've heard. We had several similar revenue measures before it. It failed. In response, the council pivoted. It rushed to pass Measure E, a law enforcement parcel tax. The voters approved that, and it has provided, as you've heard, roughly $5 million per year ever since. There was no inflation adjustment. And here's the truth, as again, you've heard, that everyone at City Hall knew at the time. Measure E was not enough, even on the day that it passed. It addressed one piece of the puzzle, police funding, but it left all of the rest of our city's needs unaddressed. What happened next? The city made deep cuts. I don't know how this works. There we go. All right.
We ran out of budget to let it work.
Yeah. The city made deep cuts. You can see that our staffing dropped off, and it continued to drop, and then it had some authorized positions, but we couldn't fill those authorized positions because we weren't paying competitive salaries. So we reduced staffing, we deferred maintenance, we shelved capital projects. On paper, the budget looked balanced, but in reality, we were slowly falling behind. We weren't really investing in our city. We were really rationing its decline. So let's look at what some of that decline looks like today. This is the PV Drive West retaining wall that you heard the city manager talk about. Finally, we're going to get around to repairing it. But in the meantime, we have concrete spalling. We have a lot of problems with that retaining wall. That's the main road in our city, as we all know. We have a parking garage. I don't know, you might have to click to get that to, this is a video. This is inside of City Hall when it rains. It rains. No, this is under. It's actually raining inside. So these are the kinds of problems that have lasted for a while in our city now. It's not supposed to be raining in there. It's coming through the top of a parking structure. All right, there we go. This is also City Hall. We've got some sort of steel structural. I'm not a civil engineer, but that doesn't look good to me. We've got some concrete spalling once again. This is Mr. Molina's backyard. He had was his backyard. We had a storm drain pipe there, which was 60 or 70 or 80 years old. It blew out, and it blew out his backyard. And we had to issue an emergency funding protocol to repair it. It's obviously more expensive to do it that way than to do it properly and do it on a schedule. But that's the kind of situation that we have repeatedly been dealing with in our city. I've only been on council for a year. I was a planning commissioner for 8 years before that, but we've been dealing with this for quite a long time now in our city, this kind of situation. So let's talk about what makes PVE truly one of a kind. But it also puts us in a unique pickle. About 99% of cities in California depend on commercial or industrial tax bases. Taxes from shopping centers, hotels, tourism, etc. PVE has essentially none of that. And I think that's exactly why many of us live here. We like PVE the way it is. We share this special non-commercial status with only a handful of other California cities, cities like Rolling Hills and Hidden Hills. But those cities have homeowners associations that charge thousands of dollars per house per year to handle maintenance, provide security, etc. The PV Homes Association does not. We truly stand alone. We are unique. We don't charge with our homes association, and we're not a commercial city. We're truly unique. We're one of a kind. Our city government is functionally the HOA of our special non-commercial city. We maintain the roads, we patrol the streets, we trim the trees, we manage the parklands. There's no one else coming to do it in PVE. And speaking of parklands, 28% of our city is protected open space. It is one of the great treasures of PVE, but open space is not free. It must be managed, maintained, and defended, and in an era of escalating wildfire risk, we have unfortunately seen what has happened in other communities. It is both our greatest asset and one of our greatest liabilities. So let me be direct about what we should not do. We should not put this city through another cycle of cuts, uncertainty, and staff turnover. Every time we lose an experienced employee to a neighboring city that pays more, we lose institutional knowledge that takes years to rebuild. And every deferred repair becomes more expensive and an emergency down the road. And we should not continue to put our heads in the sand and pretend that everything is fine. As we saw, our city hall and its parking garage need seismic upgrades. Our sewers and storm drains need proactive repair. Our pension debt costs us nearly $2 million a year in interest alone. These are not hypothetical problems. They are ticking clocks that can be addressed and need to be addressed now. When Measure E sunsets in 2027, we will lose $5 million overnight. Without a replacement, our reserves will likely be exhausted in less than 2 years. At that point, we are not talking about trimming around the edges. We are talking about serious problems. This is not about growing government. This is about preventing the collapse of services you already depend on. Police, fire, road maintenance, wildfire prevention, tree trimming. The question isn't whether we can afford to act, it's whether we can afford not to act. Now, I understand that advocating for this funding also means that the council is asking for your trust. And I take that seriously. I want to tell you, we have an entire website, and we've heard a couple comments both tonight, we've heard it some other nights, that we don't have a plan. And so I want to make it very clear. We have an entire website with Excel spreadsheets, and I've got to move my slides here. Oh, this tree fell right on the Montmalaga pickup line. Okay, we haven't been keeping up with tree trimming either. We have an entire website with Excel spreadsheets, PowerPoint presentations, frequently asked questions, and videos explaining the city's budget, the deficit situation, our capital plans, and various proposals from this council. In fact, my colleague, Mr. McGowan, who's a CPA and an accomplished accountant and financial analyst and forensic accountant, and I think he has several other titles.
Wow, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
They're all negative.
He built this very detailed spreadsheet, which is posted on our city's website, which models what, it's a slightly different model, but $17.5 million of revenue would do for our city. So it really is all there. And you can access all of this information on our dedicated Fiscal Outlook website, located right off the main link at pvestates.org, www.pvestates.org. So it is right there for anyone who wants to look. I am proud of the hard work, the hundreds of hours of thought and debate that went into creating this material. And I'm also not saying that it's perfect, or that we don't need more discussion or debate about our priorities. But no one can look at all of that material and all of our recorded town hall videos and honestly say that we are hiding our real plans or lacking transparency, or that we haven't put in the work. Let me also tell you what this council and our city staff have accomplished this past year in spite of our severe budget deficit. We have developed and published an 11-element wildfire prevention and response strategy, including passing a new anti-camping ordinance, deploying helicopter water stations, and planning for new freshwater storage tank within our city. For 2026, we increased fireweed abatement by 32% in acreage while reducing costs by 35%. We cut herbicide usage by city contractors by approximately 90%, including on the trails. We published a long-range fiscal outlook with a transparent 10-year model so residents can see where we're headed and what some of our priorities are. We improved our financial controls and delivered the best audit results the city has seen in years. We deployed 20 license plate reader cameras at city entrances to detect stolen cars and outstanding warrants and maintain the highest levels of public safety. We passed a certified housing element that maintains the maximum possible level of local control over construction and density. We strengthened our PVE Cares program and our Parkland Ranger Police Department volunteer programs. And we relaunched the city's newsletter mailed directly to your mailboxes because transparency means reaching every resident, not just those who attend our meetings. We have done more with less for a long time, but doing more with less has a limit, and we are now asking for your help. The council has shown that when you give us resources, we are careful, we are creative, and we are accountable. We stretch every dollar, and we are asking you to invest in a team that has proven that it can deliver results. So what should we do next? The proposed 16 million parcel tax, what will it allow us to do? Let me paint a picture on that. It will free up general funds. It will enable us to make seismic and structural repairs to City Hall and its parking garage. It will help us fund the sworn police officers that we need to cover our shifts without overtime and without interfering with vacations and sick leave. It will allow us to have enhanced police technology, including real-time crime feeds, to keep our neighborhoods safe. It will help us address the Malga Cove water intrusion problem that has persisted for too long. It will help us manage the wildfire risk across our 28% open space and potentially fund a grant writer who could bring in state and federal dollars to help offset some of our costs. It will help us enable proactive repairs to our sewers and storm drains before they fail and not after they fail. And it will help us fund tree trimming services to safely and sufficiently manage our nearly 20,000 trees within the city. The city of Carmel has something like 13,000 trees, and they spend over $1 million. We have 20,000 trees, and we spend about $350. We're just off. We're off the chart. We're on the bottom end of the chart on way too many of these items. And importantly, it'll also allow us to make additional payments to our pension debt. As we mentioned, currently costs us over $1 million a year just in interest payments alone. Every single one of these items was either cut or shelved from our current budget, not because they aren't needed, because we couldn't afford them. So this is not a wish list. It's a list of the things that your city needs to function safely, responsibly, and sustainably. It protects our property, our safety, and our quality of life. I want to close with this.
It's got to be Steve Friedrich.
That's perfect. Yeah.
Okay, Santa.
That is perfect.
Is on recorded video. Please continue.
Yeah. On June 2nd, we're not just voting on a tax measure, we're voting about a fundamental question about the future of our city. Palos Verdes Estates was founded on a vision of a unique community, a place of natural beauty, quiet streets, strong neighborhoods, and a shared commitment to something greater than any one household. The vision has endured for nearly a century, but it does not sustain itself. Will PVE stay PVE? Will we be the generation that invested in the city and handed it to the next generation stronger than we found it? I believe in this community. I believe that when PVE residents understand the facts, they make good decisions. That's what we've worked so hard on. The newsletter, the fiscal outlook, the town halls, the surveys. We want you to have every piece of information that you need. And with that information, I am confident that you will see what I see, that this is not about spending more. This is about public safety. It's about local funding and local control. It's about protecting what we have built together. Thank you.
Put a lot of time in that. Thank you. David?
Well, trust me, I won't be as long as my council member.
Thank you.
Mr. Lazaro. But I think a lot of you understand or know that my professional background has been financial. And when I was transferred to Los Angeles over 30 years ago, I was brought out here to run a consulting practice to specialize in troubled company situations, fraud, ethics, long-range planning, damage analysis, and so forth. But this was for both corporations as well as governmental entities. And when I retired from my firm, I ended up continuing doing some practice with clients here in Southern California. But some of my residents and your neighbors approached me one day and asked me to help with my background to help them understand the financial situation of Palos Verdes Estates. This is over 10 years ago. And reluctantly, I did agree to meet with them and began to get involved. And it was very clear very quickly to me that Palos Verdes Estates was not on a good plan for financial stability. And there needed to be some long-range planning and changes to the way of thinking in anticipating the future. That led to me being put on the Financial Advisory Committee, which he subsequently put me on the City Council. Now that I've been on the City Council for almost 7, 8 years.
28 years?
What?
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you say 8?
It seems like 28 years, yes. But I've been a strong proponent, not only in the financial sector of our community, but for long-range planning and trying to think into the future so that we were planning for the future and having adequate resources. And if there's been one of the challenges that I've faced, and many of you that know me know that I'm not the most patient person in the world. And I wanted, Carrie, was that a... Sorry. I would like it done yesterday because that's the attitude and the environment I came out of. But the point being that we have made significant progress in trying to put some basic blocking and tackling into our city's financial structure. We are still struggling with doing a long-range plan and having the adequate and the necessary information available to us. Our Public Works Director Oscar has been working tirelessly trying to get a handle around our public works issues. We don't even have an inventory that's complete of all the issues that we need to maintain and deal with. And that's one of the struggles that we're trying to put together in understanding the infrastructure and the funding that's going to be required in the years to come. This city is, you all know, is 100 years old, and many of our facilities are nearing their life's end. So we've got to be planning for that. We cannot afford to have sewer problems back up in neighbors' backyards or storm drains back up or whatever the issue du jour might be. I cannot be more supportive of the citizens' initiative in seeking this parcel tax of public safety, because it's going to not only help us balance all the other deferred maintenance issues, whether it be tree trimming, weed abatement, whether it be infrastructure, slurring streets and surfaces. But what we really need is a plan for stability so that our city manager, our staff, our police department, and our fire department know exactly what our objectives are and how we accomplish them. So from my perspective, when I took office, I said I would utilize my business and professional background to make decisions for the entire community and not to be swayed by individual small splinter groups. But we need to make decisions for the entire community. And therefore, I believe that this measure needs to be put on the June 2nd ballot without further ado. And I also would like to encourage all residents to be careful in understanding what they're voting for in this measure in June. You need to do your homework. You cannot rely upon every next door post or comment that's made on non-city newsletters and so forth. Get your facts straight, debate them with your neighbors, make sure you understand what you're voting for, because there's so many things that are taken out of context, twisted, and misrepresented that it makes our lives as city council members very complex, but it's very confusing for the residents. Do your homework, save our city, and let us all go to the ballot box on June 2nd.
Thanks for your comment. So I'm going to be short and sweet. I tried to catch a few things that maybe weren't mentioned in all this that'll help wrap it up. First and foremost, you know, in my observation, despite the passage of Measure E in the 2017 to 19 period, the FAC, the Finance Advisory Committee that's advisory to the council and city staff, sort of threw the football back and forth on long-range forecasts. And every time that you would sit in one of those meetings or observe one of those meetings and listen to all the detail, and then ultimately they'd get to the slide. And I refer to the slide being the one that shows the city going off the cliff. And so no matter how many different ways we look at this and how much the city gets squeezed or portions of its budgets get squeezed, we always end up, sort of back in the same realm. Steve's still here? Yeah. So when I was first elected, I took a very, very close look at every finite detail, as every lovely first-year council member does. By the way, that was very well done. I wasn't taking anything away from you.
It's a little long. Yeah.
Anyway, at the time, I was so into the weeds that somebody that's in the room right now accused me of counting the erasers, and I guess I did. I love the idea that we're going to go after transparency and support transparency. I love that we're going to be able to find documents more easily. I love that maybe we're going to be able to, upgrade an accounting system / ERP system. I love that we're going to be able to invest in all that. But to do all that, we need the resources to do it. And continuing to run along the same paradigm where we're counting the erasers, I'll tell you, it's exhausting for every volunteer that does it and is invested in the city. And, God bless all of them for doing it. A couple other things not mentioned. Unfunded mandates. The amount of money that we've had to spend out of our state budget on complying with and supporting, and I thank you for your work on the Planning Commission for years. Every time we hit a housing element, new housing laws, new legislation we have to keep up with, all of those changes all cost money. It seems like every other corner I turn around, I look at a future agenda item I'm hoping to address, and I can't because there's a new ADU mandate that's on our agenda. So there's that. We truly, in looking at the numbers, have been in a structural deficit since the failure of Measure D. We get into E. We think maybe we're going to hang on. Yeah, I know you told us so. So all good. A couple other things. Regardless of all the challenges that we've had through that period, somehow we already have managed to pay in the neighborhood of $2 million in additional discretionary payments to CalPERS to start, addressing that classic safety pension debt. There is a pension funding policy, as noted. It definitely needs to be enhanced. We need revenue to do it. I'll say we too frequently initiate consulting studies, and we find ourselves unable to commit to real proposed resolutions. Derek covered a lot of that. I think I'll leave it there. Thank you to the committee. Thank you to everyone for coming tonight, for your commitment to our beautiful city, and honestly, for your trust. Look, we're
We're not all going to agree. Hopefully we can get, to a middle and collaborate in what is, I'll skip all the national politics, but it's become such a difficult environment. I don't give a damn what side you're on. This place is an incredible place to live. We're all going to work together. We're all going to cherish what we love. We're all going to fight to preserve local control. I'm entirely supportive of this collaborative plan, and I'll say on behalf of all of us and one that's not here, thank you for your trust. So on that note, we've been asked by staff to move one of the items that are optional to us to proceed. Would somebody like to consider making a motion?
I can. So I move that we receive, file, and accept the certificate of sufficiency of the initiative petition, and based on the sufficiency of the petition, we take action on 2A as listed in the staff report, which is to submit the initiative measure to the voters at the next regular municipal election occurring at least 88 days later, also known as June 2nd, 2026. Oh, is he looking okay? He's looking at me in a bad way.
No, just technicalities. It would be a special municipal election going on June 2nd, just to be clear.
What he said, that's what I said. Then you should have printed it differently.
May I have a second, please?
I'll second.
Yeah. Oh. They couldn't do it fast enough. I think I heard Dave first.
Go first, yeah.
I fully second it. Okay, so motion, Councilmember Lozey, second, Councilmember McGowan. May we have a voice vote, please?
Before we take a vote,
yes.
Just to clarify, this would be a motion to adopt the 3 resolutions that are attached to the staff report. Or are you taking them one at a time? There should be 3 resolutions.
Well, isn't the first resolution is the certificate of sufficiency, right?
There's that. You can move for that if you'd like to do that. And then
I
we
did
take
that.
Okay.
And then the second one is to put it on the June ballot. Oh, the third one is the one with all
Well,
the
there's
timelines.
3 resolutions that do it all for June 2nd. So your motion can cover all 3 of those resolutions.
I'll recommend a friendly amendment that follows the city attorney's guidance relative to the acceptance of the 3 resolutions as proposed.
I accept that friendly amendment.
Thank you.
I accept it.
May we have a voice vote, please?
Councilmember McGowan.
Yes.
Councilmember Quinn is absent. Councilmember Lozey.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Lazaro.
Yes.
And Mayor Kemps.
Aye. It
Motion passes
unanimously with those.
Okay, very good. Onward.
Thank you. All right. A little bit left. Feel free to stay.
Where's everybody going? The meeting's not over.
Can we go?
Mayor and council member reports. I don't have anything to report. Councilwoman Lozey.
Oh, well, everyone's leaving, so they're not going to say. But for the recording.
Hold on.
Or I can say it again next time.
We'll pause a minute.
We got a couple weeks here.
So we can cover it another time.
I guess we're covering it another time.
Just adjourn the meeting.
All right. No mayor and council member reports. We'll review tentative future item. I would like to, for the city manager.
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
I'd like to request that at a future meeting, we review our existing tentative agenda items and all review and confirm that we want those to retain or not stay. Please.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yes. Yeah.
Got it.
Good. Thank you. On that note, we're adjourned to Tuesday, March 10th, 2026 at 6:30 p.m. Thank you.
All right.